Sober October, dry January. Well, some have had enough. And Vivino versus wine critics, well, it turns out they're not that far apart. And a $93.26 wine from Sonoma, yes, it does exist. We're going to talk about some value wines. All that and more on This Week Uncorked. Hello and welcome to This Week Uncorked. This is episode 27 for Monday, January 20th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork & Journey, your number one source for corkage fees, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, and more. Let's get right on into this week's news. So as I said at the beginning, sober October, dry January, when will it all end? Well, the mayor of Châteauneuf, Claude Avril, has had enough. And to quote, he says, "I find it insulting because it doesn't trust our sense of responsibility. It gives the idea that people are going to get drunk on wine and drink bottles all day long without any capacity for moderation. It's impulsizing and absolutely unbearable." I wonder how you really feel, Claude. Anyway, I kind of agree. I'm a little over it. We're really in a strange thing right now. You've got all these reports coming out. Hey, a small amount of alcohol is good for you. Any alcohol will kill you. Just drink moderately. Don't go crazy, and I think you'll be fine. But it really does hurt, as more and more months become dry months, and you get more and more people getting on that bandwagon. It does hurt the wine industry tremendously. But just drink responsibly, all right? And drink some Châteauneuf to pop while you're at it. Give them a hand. All right, in the drinks business, Vivino's crowd reviews gained credibility in a Cambridge study. So it turns out that oftentimes the crowdsourcing reviews of wines actually match up pretty closely with those of the top critics out there. Wine Spectator, Decanter. Matter of fact, Decanter was the lowest on the entire list. The Cambridge study, which is the Journal of Wine Economics, there's a journal for everything, found that they often match up. From the article, the verdict, Vivino users, while typically rating wines for immediate pleasure, showed a substantial correlation with professional critics. The average correlation of 40% between Vivino and critics such as Jeff Levy from The Wine Advocate was noteworthy, though professional critic scores correlated even more strongly among themselves, averaging 63%. Jeff Levy's assessment exhibited the highest alignment with Vivino scores, while Decanters showed the least at only 16%. What we're saying here, I guess, is like 4 out of 10 times, whatever, if a critic rates a wine, basically the Vivino wine reviews are going to be very, very similar. And that makes a lot of sense because on Vivino, I think people are rating a lot of wines that they just like, that are daily drinkers. We've talked about price, and maybe they don't get these high critic scores, but people say, hey, this is just fine for me. It's a good, this will do. We actually quote Vivino over on Cork & Journey. We actually put their ratings of the wine up there because I think it's important for people to know kind of what the rest of the world thinks of this wine as well. I think it gives everybody a better idea of generally, maybe this is something I like, maybe it's something I don't. And it is the number one wine rating app, in the world. So we're taking a look at. And with that, let's do a quick plug for SOMM TV. If you don't know, SOMM TV is your place for basically anything having to do with wine. They have just amazing, amazing videos. They're constantly updating it every single week. You've got Drink a Bottle, you've got Vineyard Tours. It just goes on and on and on. If there's anything you want to know about wine, most likely you can find it over at SOMM TV. And if you use the link in the show notes, you will get 50% off your monthly subscription. You can put it up on your Apple TV, your Roku, your Amazon TV, Google TV, whatever you're using. SOMM TV has an app for it. Really, really inexpensive, less than $60 a year. And I think when you pay monthly, it comes down to like $40 with our discount, something like that. So check out SOMM TV. You won't regret it. And with that, we'll move right on in with the news. So we talk about this quite a bit kind of internally. So if pests are a big problem for winemakers, and winemakers are different than your average farmer because they farm the product, they harvest the product, and then they turn it into the end product. Whereas most of the time it's harvested, it goes off on trucks, it ends up in supermarkets. There's really no anything that has to happen. So, but they deal with everything that any farmer deals with. They deal with pests, they deal with mold, they deal with mildew. They deal with animals, insects constantly. So they're always looking for ways to kind of remediate, especially with the big rise in organic farming, which means I don't want to use any pesticides, or I want to use as minimal as I can, but mostly it's no pesticides. They've got bird houses they're putting up in the vineyards so that they can eliminate the pests. But there are some things, you kind of just need to manually walk through the fields and check. And there's some things humans are very good at. And it turns out there's some things dogs are very good at. So a California project indicated that dogs can detect leaf roll 3 virus and vine mealybugs with strong accuracy ratings. This was reported in the Wine Business publication in December. Malbec, a black Labrador, and Sauvy B, an English Springer Spaniel, sniffed out mealybugs in the trial. Cab, a German short-haired pointer, and Zinni, also an English Springer Spaniel, were trained to detect leaf roll 3 virus, said the publication. So I love the names they're giving these dogs. But basically, they're helpful in the vineyards. So if you're walking, doing a vine tour, you're out visiting a winery, and you see some dogs wandering through the vineyards, they might not be strays. They might actually be there looking for pests out in the vineyard. So you can check that article out in Decanter. And wrapping up the news, Wine Spectator, we talked about this last year when they released their top 100 wines. I think the average wine price was $150 or something crazy. Well, now they've done their 2024 Value Wine of the Year has been announced, and it also has a whole bunch of, I think there's almost like 100 wines that they've actually listed here that are value wines. In order to qualify for this list, Wine Spectator had to rate them above 90 points, and they have to cost less than $40. And I was really surprised their number one wine is a Segesio. It's a Zinfandel from Sonoma County, 2022. 93 points, $26. Now, they made a lot of it. 112,000 cases of this were made. So pretty well mass produced. But this is a bottling of 88% Zinfandel, and it's got some Petite Sirah in there and some other grapes. And it was a really hot vintage in 2022. But this wine evidently tastes great. And if you like Zin, give it a try. But I really recommend you go check out this article and check out the list, because there are some great value wines in there. And some of them I've had, and they're just absolutely amazing. So worth checking that out. And with that, let's get to our wine and winery of the week. So we're going to head to Adelaida Vineyards and Winery in Paso Robles, California. This is a beautiful winery. It is up in the hills up top. Absolutely stunning, and more importantly, they've got some absolutely great wines. So if you're in Paso, we've got a whole bunch of wineries that we've listed on our website that we reviewed in Paso. This is definitely one that you'll want to stop by. We gave it 5 stars, and there's so many tours. We took a little SUV kind of up to the top of a hill, and we sat out and looked out over the vineyards and over Paso Robles and over the valley, and and the wines were fantastic. Ended up purchasing quite a bit from there. So if you are in Paso, check out Adelaida Vineyards and Winery. You do have to make reservations before you go. You might be able to walk in, but it was kind of a reservation only kind of thing when we were there, and I highly recommend you doing that. And for our wine of the week, I'm going to go to Lodi, of all places, the 2021 Inkblot Cab Franc. We gave this a 92 rating. Vivino gives it a 4.2, and it is $30. Kind of wanted to go with that whole value wine, taking off a Wine Spectator here. This is from Michael David Winery. They've got Carnival, or what is it? Freak Show is the name of their wines. They have a whole bunch of wines. They go all over the gambit. They've got $100+ bottles. They have mass produced. Lodi is a huge grape producing region. Matter of fact, they're having to cut back on some because they've grown so many grapes there. And as we talked about the glut that's going on in grapes right now. But, Sean Goring is the winemaker over there. This is a nice wine. This is worth taking a look at. And at $30, you can find it for less. Check out that 2021 Inkblot Cab Franc. You won't go wrong. All right. And with that, let's get to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. All Illinois, Paso to Lodi. We're going to stay in California, and we're going to go to Orange, California, which is in Orange County, and it is the Hobbit. This has been around a very, very long time. You definitely have to make reservations. They have a beautiful wine cellar. It is a set seating. Everybody's seated at the same time, and basically they roll out the food and the wine, and it is fantastic. If you're in Southern California, you might not think to get out to the city of Orange, but if you do, you will not be disappointed. This is one of the best restaurants in all of Southern California, and I highly recommend you check that out. And their corkage is only $25 per bottle with a 2-bottle max, so reasonable corkage fee as well. I will say that their wine list was not overpriced, and it's a significant wine list. Pre-dinner, you can go down, one of the gathering areas is down in their cellar. You can pick out the wine that you wanted to drink that evening. Markups were not bad at all. They also do a wine pairing, and they have all those wines laid out that will be part of the pairing for the evening if you do the prefix. Highly recommended, The Hobbit in Orange, California. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of This Week Uncorked. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And as always, we would love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, all of those things. Anyway, everybody, have a great week. Cheers.